Welcome to Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. Let's talk Loquat. This is Eriobotrya japonica, otherwise known as the Loquat. It's an incredible evergreen, either shrub or small tree. This one has been limbed up into a small tree, but you can see down at the bottom of it here where it is suckering, where it wants to become more of a shrub shape to it. It has these beautiful, long, dark green serrated leaves and incredible fragrance. Filming this at the beginning of December, and here are those amazingly fragrant flowers. The flowers eventually become kind of a sour, elongated yellow, cherry plum-like fruit. But here we are in zone 7B, and we get the flowers, we get the pollinators, we get the incredible fragrance. I mean, even here at the beginning of December. But 27 degrees will prevent the fruit from forming. So this is fall and winter flowering, as long as we get in warm days. At some point during the winter, it will stop it here where we are. Above, if your area stays above 27, these flowers will become the fruit. If you're in an area where you can get the fruit, these are self-pollinating, so you don't need multiple plants for that. And the bees come along and really work on these. We walked past this one quite a bit, and there's always bees on it during the warmer time of the day. These leaves are also used for herbal tea as well. So this plant is put to good use in Southeast Asia. This is a very fast growing tree or shrub. It can grow up to 3 feet in a single season. It'll reach somewhere between 15 and 20 feet in height, 10 to 15 feet in width, something like that. And again, it can happen very rapidly once it roots itself into the ground. So this is a tree that's different things maybe for different people. Some folks are going to be growing it in warmer areas for fruiting, and then others are going to be growing it in an ornamental landscape, this is a great ornamental landscape tree. So these are said to be hardy in zones 8 to 10, but in zones, and this one's right here in zone 7B, so it will work in 7B as well. So in zone 7B and 8, we're going to get temperatures cold enough to kill off the flower buds, and you're not typically going to get fruit, possibly even into 9A. On certain winters, you're probably not going to get fruit. So the further south you are, the more likely you are for this to be a fruiting plant. The more north you are, the more likely it is to be just an ornamental plant, and it's quite beautiful at just being an ornamental plant and blooming at an odd time of year and offering, pollinators something at an interesting time of the year. The more sun, the more flowers, the more fruit. So, that's pretty typical with most of our fruiting plants. The more sun, the better, but it will take light shade if you're just using it as an ornamental plant. So where we're going to use a Loquat in an ornamental landscape, well, it offers incredible texture. I mean, there's very few things with this incredible dark green foliage, serration on the leaf, and if you put it with some other type of plant that has a different shaped leaf or a different colored leaf, it really contrasts well with that. Worked really well in a mixed border. This is a great evergreen. I don't even know that I've said it's evergreen, but it is evergreen. So any kind of mixed border where you're trying to create a screen, of course, just as a one-off specimen plant like this one has been tree formed with a single trunk. I think that more typically in an ornamental landscape, you're going to see these as multi-trunk shrubs. And this one is, again, trying to do that. Those have to be cut off occasionally, otherwise it will end up being a multi-trunked plant. I'm guessing in warmer areas it also work in a large container for a short period of time and have some interest on a patio or something like that. One other way I've seen Loquats grown is espaliered, meaning they can be grown flat to a wall, and you'll see that with camellias or magnolias. There's lots of different plants that are tolerant of that. This is definitely one of those. These are extremely tolerant of different pH levels, different soil types, really not a very picky plant, other than it doesn't want to be in a wet area. They'll take moist but well-drained conditions, and then letting them dry out between rains and watering. Once they're established, though, extremely drought tolerant. So that's not really an issue. They do like their roots to be cooled. And you'll see this a lot of times with fruiting plants. It is that the tops of them want to be in a lot of sun. Okay, so where they stretch out, they're trying to get into the sun, but that doesn't mean they want the sun beating right down on the roots. And so make sure you're keeping the area mulched. And then the winter wind could be an issue for this plant in the colder areas. And so This one right here is in zone 7B in Raleigh, and it's out in a big open space. And so I do wonder in times if we'll ever get a winter that could really potentially damage this one. I think in the colder areas, you'd probably want to tuck it in a slightly more protected area. It is, in fact, doing some pruning on it, though. This one is extremely full here, and I think that quite possibly the winter is nipping the tips of the branches back a bit and creating some additional branching, which has actually made it look fantastic out here. Mentioning it up here in zone 7B, I think it's being pruned just by the cold weather a bit in the wintertime. You can do the same thing anywhere you live. You can kind of frequently take out, just tip prune, meaning take out the last inch and a half of growth on it a few times during the season, and that can create this kind of branching that keeps it full like this. Also would give you more flowers, more places for it to flower because it's flowering on the new growth in the late season, and then that would of course turn into more fruit if you were in an area where it was fruiting. These don't need a lot of fertilizer, but sometime in the late winter, early spring, if you wanted to fertilize it, you can put some organic fertilizer out underneath it, just out underneath the entire drip line of the tree, and that's pretty much all the maintenance you need to do. Is you don't even really need to do the tip pruning. The plant looks good without that, but you can create this kind of really full look or limit up into a tree. It's very tolerant of pruning. That's what I'll say in that regard. This is in the rose family, and all of our stone fruits in the rose family, plums, cherries, peaches, those kinds of things, and just like everything else in the rose family, they can get some disease problems. So this is one that you would want to monitor. This one's out in some open space, and I think maybe not the best because of the cold area we're in, but it is working out for it, that air's moving through it, it's staying dry, it's not collecting water, it doesn't have places for disease to really sit and form. So maybe in an open space, if you're in a southern area, would be a good idea, just to prevent some of those rose family issues that we can get on almost that entire family of plants, from spottings to fire blights to lots of different disease issues in that family of plants. But this is one of my absolute favorite ornamental plants, and here again, it's different things to different people. Up here in cooler areas, it's just a beautiful flowering ornamental or evergreen tree, and down in the south, of course, you get the benefit of getting the fruit as well. Thanks for watching.